another podcast with CMHA with Lill Petrella, Team Lead, Mental Health Promotions Education, Canadian Mental Health Association, Brant-Haldimand-Norfolk. You've got such a big title. I love it.
It's a mouthful.
Hey, folks, I asked Lill if we could address the issue of stress. And there's a lot of questions around it and what it can lead to. So we're gonna dive into that. And first of all, Lill, what is stress? Can we break it right down?
Stress is when you become overwhelmed with your activities of daily living, okay? When things that you do every day, and then some, there's more things piled up on you, it will take its toll, right? So it's basically more to deal with than we normally deal with, and it starts to take its toll. So just additional responsibilities on top of the day-to-day activities that we have in our lives. And then it just becomes a little bit overwhelming. Now, good stress is good for you. Bad stress, not so much. And I imagine that's what we're going to address today.
Yeah. One of the examples I read of good stress was if you're driving your car and all of a sudden you're going to hit the person in front of you and you slam on the brakes, that's a good stress because you react. I thought, okay, I do need that stress. Yes, with the way I drive. And again, then, so that's how much is too much is sort of in that ball of wax you just explained to us. Now, people, how do they control stress? Like, do we actually, first of all, before we go into that question, my next question, listen to me ramble on, kids and stress. Do kids handle stress differently?
Absolutely. Absolutely, they do. It manifests itself in different ways, acting out, withdrawing, maybe some bullying or maybe bedwetting or increased anxiety and just getting frustrated with the easiest tasks, right? Those are surefire signs that things are going on with children, that they're stressed. And that's, by no means an exhaustive list, but those are some red flags.
And does that boil down? I mean, stress for children can be in school, home life. Like, I guess there's a number of different areas. And really, I always think of the younger kids, kindergarten, grade 3, 4. Mm-hmm. They don't need to be stressed.
They don't need to be stressed. Nobody needs to be stressed, but absolutely our children do not need to be stressed. Yep, some are.
And that kind of manifests itself too, because once they learn early or they can't regulate the stress early, right? It just carries on into adulthood.
Sure does.
It can lead to other situations.
It sure does.
I guess that would, yeah. So let's talk first about controlling stress. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that you could do, like what we've talked about for kids or adults, I guess, that can help regulate better?
No, we all have stress in our lives, right? In a perfect world, we would have no stress, right? That would be Shangri-La. It would be lovely. But we all have stress in our lives. So it's important to realize when we're taking on too much. Okay. And to have that insight that, oh my goodness, like I'm so exhausted at the end of the day, or my patience is limited, or I'm yelling at my kids, or, I'm not meeting deadlines. So it's really important to have insight into what's changing in your life as a result of the added stress or not being able to handle or control the stress in your life. And then, take a step back and say, okay, this has got to give, right? I can't continue on like this. I can't continue with this or that. And then we need to start to claw back on things that are just adding pressure and stress to our lives that we can just dispose of if possible.
So let's take this one step further. And maybe this is, so I think in a lot of cases, folks tend to not be able to get rid of the stress. Like they just say, well, I'll deal with it. I've got to get through this. I'll work through it. But long-term, the effects on other aspects of your life, with your mental health, your physical health, all those components, talk about that. What can happen if you don't address it?
For sure. I mean, some of us can say, oh, I can handle it. I'm a multitasker. I'm an adrenaline junkie, right? I have type A. And that's okay. Maybe you can handle all this stress, but prolonged stress, you're not going to be able to handle, right? It will take its toll on you. It will take your toll on you emotionally and physically as well. We you hear about the type A corporate personalities and, who end up having a heart attack or something. So prolonged stress is not good for anyone. at all, not physically or emotionally. So something will give down the road. So it's important to remember that. Maybe you're still young and healthy and you're able to handle all this stress and everything, but eventually it will catch up with you because you're not made to handle that prolonged stress.
Can stress lead to anxiety? And
Yes.
I had read that stress can actually lead to personality disorders as well. Can you
Sure.
fill me in on that?
Sure. I mean, we all know what stress can do to us physically, right? But we're not that aware of what stress can do to us emotionally. It can definitely trigger mental health problems in otherwise individuals who didn't have mental health problems before. It can trigger depression, anxiety, definitely a personality disorder, because personality disorders can arise from trauma in our lives as well. And prolonged stress is trauma. So there's many aspects of how stress can affect us emotionally as well.
When you talked earlier about, getting rid of or dealing with the stress, some of the components I think for myself I like to do, and we always mention this, is exercise. I think
Yes.
it's important that you get out and you exercise.
Right.
Sunshine makes such a big difference in your day as well. Things like that. And I think we just have to, as a society, recognize that we need to take care of ourselves first.
Yes. Absolutely. We need to take care of ourselves. And sometimes when we're very busy and very stressed, we say to ourselves, I don't have time for exercise. I don't have time, to go to my yoga class or, but it's important that we take the time. If we don't, we just cannot go on. Our bodies are not made to go on that way, being on, an adrenaline overload. Something will give. So, we may have stress in our lives and it may be hard to control or regulate. But if you have that type of work environment or family environment, make sure that you take time to de-stress and do activities that remove you from stressful situations. And then you're all refreshed and feel a lot better, so that when you're back immersed in that stressful job or any type of stressful environment, you have taken that breather, that mental breather, that physical breather, to kind of refresh you and throw you back into the stress. But at least you're better equipped to handle it at that point in time.
One of the things I found dealing with stress is that helps me considerably is in the middle of a scenario, like you said, where you're just like, oh, this is never going to end. I always think, okay, at 3:00 I get to do my run. Mm-hmm. And I think that sort of breaks it.
Yeah.
It stops that build up instantly, because it doesn't matter at 3:00. I have to, this is my time.
Exactly.
I have to do this. And I think that, like you said, it doesn't, any time of the day, folks, it can be 5-10 minutes. It's just that little bit of time that sort of resets everything, I think, and gives you an opportunity to evaluate your day and move on. And it's turning off the system for a few minutes. That's all it's doing.
Absolutely. And I'm a strong proponent of meditation. And I'm not talking about, 30 minutes or if you can build up to that, that's awesome. But even mini meditation, if you're not able to leave your desk, just shut your door and do that mindfulness, right? So basically turn off distractions, be in the present. Don't let, thoughts enter your mind. Just clear your head of all the stress and just be present in the moment. And set aside some time for that every day. And it really is such an effective exercise just to give yourself a mental breather from the stress.
It does work, folks. It does work. And you're hearing it from Lill. She knows.
Works for me.
And you know what? I did like that piece, because it is important that, like you said, if you close the door and, just clearing those thoughts, using music, anything that will sort of distract you a little bit to get you. Perfect topic today. I love talking about these things because it really gives me some insight into maybe what other folks are thinking too, because that's the other part that we don't take into account is, I might be having a great day, but Lill might not be having that good of a day. So, be aware of your surroundings. And like you said earlier, you can kind of read stress on people.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And it's all about empathy. That was in a previous program, right?
Yep. Empathy is the word. I'm glad you brought that up. I was searching for it, and there it was right in front of me. Always thinking about myself.
Yeah, right.
But empathy you nailed it right there. Can't thank you enough for taking the time. I know you're busy.
My pleasure.
Another great podcast. about stress, folks. And I hope you have a great day and a great weekend, Lill.
Thank you very much.